I want to take the opportunity to introduce Dr. Michael Littman and Bill Davis. They're going to be presenting on ethical transformation and leadership, moving forward together.
Thank you, Deb. About today's presentation, well, we're going to introduce each other. I get the privilege and honor to introduce Dr. Michael Littman, and he can introduce me. So what I'd like to say is I met Dr. Littman at the IACBE Conference in New Orleans, and I had sat through this presentation, and I absolutely loved it. I think there's a strong message here, good reminders. So with that said, let me introduce Dr. Michael Littman. He earned his Ph.D. and taught marketing at Ohio State University. His teaching areas include international business, leadership, business ethics, and business and marketing education. Since 2007, Dr. Littman has been a fellow at the Schusterman Center for Israeli Studies at Brandeis University in Walton, Massachusetts. He served as the business department chair from 1998 to 2001, as well as summer department chair in 2008-2010. Dr. Littman has been actively involved with a large variety of student services, including selection as Buffalo State's first faculty in resident from 1992 to 1995, being one of the first group of 12 campus fame, freshman advisement for major entry advisors, and in new student orientations. Dr. Littman is active in professional development, having attended 3 AACSB seminars, as well as a variety of college-related and educational-related programs. Internationally, Dr. Littman is well recognized as a scholar, having served as a guest professor on numerous occasions since 1993 at the Amsterdam School of Business in the Netherlands and the University of Applied Sciences at the University of Dortmund in Germany. He's also served as a visiting professor at the University of Stettin in Poland. In 2009, he was co-chair of International Project Week, bringing students and faculty members from over 20 countries together. In 2010, he was the coordinator of the Creativity in Projects and Organizations conference track, both held at the University of Dortmund, Germany. Dr. Littman has over 35 publications and presentations in academic journals such as the Journal of Business and Marketing, the Journal of Private Enterprise Education, and Great Ideas for Teaching Marketing. His research efforts have been recognized by his peers with 2 major research awards in marketing education. He was also named a Buffalo State Teacher Scholar Fellow in April of 2002 and has been selected for Who's Who Among American Teachers. Dr. Littman, it is a pleasure and an honor to present with you. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Littman to introduce me.
Okay. Well, I'm just as fortunate to have met Bill Davis at the IACBE. It was a very fortunate trip to meet people of Bill Davis's caliber and in the work that he is doing. But as it says, Bill Davis is a core faculty assistant professor, and I understand he's just received a noteworthy promotion, as well as been a former faculty senator in the Forbes School of Business and Technology. He has extensive experience in distance education, adult learning and development, management, leadership, planning, project management, professional selling, marketing, strategic management, P&L management, and organizational change. A skilled educator and administrator with over 14 years of higher education experience and over 30 years of progressive beverage industry management experience. Bill is a former executive within the PepsiCo system, which is a Fortune 500 company. He's taught over 200 plus courses in accelerated education, ongoing and online teaching. A servant and transformational style leader who has a unique teaching style. Bill applies methods that bridge the gap of understanding between theory and practice. Bill is a passionate educator, and his goal is to provide the very best classroom experience for his students. He works to increase student learning and understanding to further real-world applications. Bill is a recipient of numerous sales and marketing awards and local and national excellence in teaching and service awards. And again, we're all fortunate to listen to his presentation today and to work with him on this presentation. So all the best. If we look at today is kind of an interesting day. It seems to be election day. And the key issue now is about human resources, people development, and those areas of human capital that are very valued to make our systems work appropriately. So we know that today leaders are facing a variety of situations in education. We know that students have changed over time, and both Bill and I have been in education for a number of years, so we've seen this. We know that educational needs of our students have changed over time, and we as educators have to be on target to deal with those. We do know we're seeing various challenges. Technology is increasing in a big part of our educational system and is something our students are very comfortable with. We know that funding has always been a challenge at the state, local, and national level to make sure we have the appropriate funding to meet the needs of our students. We know that safety of our students is always a forefront of what we do, and that includes not only the physical safety, but the psychological and social issues that they face. And we do know that today in our classrooms, our students have been facing more psychological and social challenges that we have to deal with. We do know that the needs we have as educators in business education has changed. We do know that the skill sets needed for our students to be successful have changed over time. We have a focus on the 21st century skills, which are much focused on the skills our students need to interact with others and to move their organizations forward. A big issue to me, and also to Bill, has been this issue of leadership. Who provides the vision, the direction, and the guidance so that we are doing what we need to do to develop students in the way necessary for their success and their success in their careers? And finally, there's always been the ethical challenge to do the right thing. And when we do the right thing, that will benefit us all. If we look at some definitions so that we're all on the same page, Brown et al. Said, ethical leadership is your appropriate conduct through your personal actions and interpersonal relationships, as well as a promotion of such conduct to followers through two-way communication, reinforcement, and decision-making. In the research I have been doing ongoing with my son, in 2017, in one of our articles, we decided to use a definition that ethical leadership was a continuous practice of having a positive influence on decisions that will be right, as well as appropriate decisions that support the proper actions in any situation that will impact the greater good. So if we micro that to say, okay, what terminology will we want to keep throughout our presentation? When we think of leadership, we want to remember that leadership is about the influence and impact that we have on other people and on organizations. And by ethics, we mean we should follow the appropriate right practice in our decisions and in the situation. So if we look at, most of us work at the bachelor's level, and one of the things that we want to remember in our programs are the key learning outcomes. So if we look at the key learning outcomes of IACBE, which again is the International Accreditation Council for Business Education, they say very clearly at the environmental level that we must, in our teaching, apply legal, ethical, and economic standards of business within our global environment. And following that a bit, the demand then becomes, if we look at excellence in business education, we need to integrate as faculty members, as Bill and I do, in our academic business unit, the ethical viewpoints and principles in what we do in teaching activity. So the next thing is to think about what are the external factors? What do we face as educators when we look outside of ourselves and we look at things such as, what does business expect of young people entering the workforce? What does society expect of the young people entering the workforce? And what does the government mandate about how people should act when they are in the workforce? So if we look at some of the external factors, if we go back a slide a minute, please. Thank you. The key thing is to look at the codes of conduct or the code of ethical standards that our students will face when they're in the corporate world. So the key idea is to make sure our students in the classroom are exposed and in their workplace to the codes of conduct of their organizations so they act in a professional way. If we look at professional policies in marketing, the professional ethical standards of the American Marketing Association, or in human resources, the Society for Human Resource Management, or in our accreditation agencies, they all have an influence on how we as classroom teachers work in the development of our students. And that doesn't short sell what the government says about teaching, what they provide in funding, and the assistance and guidance they would like to provide to make sure educational resources are well used. The next slide looks at the internal factors that impact ethical leadership. And again, that looks at you inside. What type of person are you? And what are the characteristics or actions you should exhibit to show that you're an ethical, caring leader? And using the Project Management Institute's Code of Conduct, and then adding information to that, I've selected 6 internal factors that we want to make sure we exhibit, because again, we are the role model and we influence our students to act in the appropriate way. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about honesty and fairness, responsibility and respect, as well as courage and kindness, and how we carry out the previously mentioned ideas. So if we go through them individually, number 1, exhibit honesty. We're always taught that honesty is the best policy. That comes from our parents. That comes from a variety of other viewpoints. So again, honesty means to speak and act in a truthful manner in all situations. And what does an honest person exhibit in their character? Their actions show that they follow through with their commitments. What they say, they do. What that means is that they will build trust with people in the organization. They build trust within their business group. By doing what you say you're going to do and following through, trust is built, because trust is important in supporting and strengthening people. The next part says you want to build trust within the community, because how people outside your organization view your organization is really based on their beliefs and how honest and trustworthy you will be. Another issue is to always be clear in the directions and goals you give to your students or to your colleagues in any assignments, because again, you want to make sure by being clear in the directions and goals of any assignment, people do what is expected of them. And as we always say, it's an honest day's work for an honest day's pay or an honest day's assignment. You want to be clear in your organizational goals. What do you want the people in the organization to focus on? And finally, the big part of honesty is sharing important information, not hiding information, not putting things off to the side, but being upfront and being targeted to what is the best thing to do. If we go to the second idea, it's to demonstrate fairness. what does fairness mean? Fairness means is to treat people equally. We want to be objective. We want to make sure that people feel that, they're treated in a way that's proper to them, and they don't feel that somebody else is getting better treatment. So we do not want to show favoritism to one group or one student or one person over another, because again, that is a negative motivator. So, try not to show favoritism. You want to give credit for positive contribution. If somebody makes a great contribution, make sure that you tell them, you tell other people, because that's the best way to treat other people. The other thing about fairness is you need to value other people's point of views. You want to make sure that your thoughts are your thoughts, their thoughts are their thoughts, but the goal is to have people express what they feel is right and what they feel is appropriate. So fairness is very critical part of being an ethical leader. The next component is modeling respect. Respect is important because, again, what we do in education is about the growth and development of our students and about others in the organization. And we do that by respecting the viewpoints other people have. We want to respect people's knowledge and abilities by empowering them or giving them the power to make decisions and to do the things that are appropriate. Being respectful of others is a part of being a good teammate, is a big part of collaboration. And we know today in education and in organizations, teamwork is one of the most valued skills today. So again, that would be very critical. Another part of respect is the area that we hear a great deal about, which is called respecting the privacy of the information of other people, which is on the next slide. And I was at a conference earlier this week on using data, big data, and data analytics. And we know today privacy is a big issue in all aspects of our life, whether it's student records, whether it's faculty records, whether it's business information, but privacy is an important area of respect. Another part of it is to listen and respond tactfully to anybody that you work with, being respectful to your co-workers, your customers, suppliers, our students, our colleagues, because again, respecting others is a way to motivate people and to show that the vision that you have includes all people. And finally, you want to make sure you always act in a professional way, how you treat others, because again, in ethical leadership, you are a role model for other people in the organization. Number 4 says, again, take responsibility, that you would be accountable for any decisions that are made. To do that, you always have to look at the guidelines we mentioned earlier in external influences on ethics, that we would follow the business code of ethics or professional conduct for our field, because again, that gives us the guidelines we need to do the right thing. We need to be accountable for any actions and in our performance, because again, what we do is our responsibility, and we want to make sure that we do the right thing. We are always responsible for the financial resources of our organization. So if anything is remiss, again, we are going to be held accountable. And again, we want to make decisions that benefit all others and taking responsibility for the growth and development of others in their personal and professional success. Again, the vision we have as a leader guides us to do that. And we always want to follow the best practices in our organization, in education and in business and in any area that we practice, because again, that reminds us what are the best areas and exhibits to follow. If we go to 5, some that I've added, again, courage. What is courage? The courage is the ability to not have fear, to tackle a challenge, and courage is taking risks. And you, as an individual, should always be responsible for taking the ethical charge and showing the courage. That's why we look internally for guidance. We follow what our ideals are, how we vision what is the best way to do things. We take risks because a courageous people always step out ahead of the curve. They look ahead of the future and they say, this is what I think is the best strategy. Courageous people have passion. I always say in anything you need to do, you should be very passionate about what you would like to accomplish and where you want to go. Passion is your sense of purpose. And we know, as I'll talk about later, that the power of purpose is very strong. Encourage discussion. Let people state their opinions. Hopefully they'll be empowered to be courageous, and you in your response will encourage people to show what they would like to do. Another part of courage in any organization, whether a teacher or faculty or in business, is how do you honestly and courageously deal with people who are not performing? So again, the idea of ethical leadership and doing the right thing to help that person improve is always valuable. And we want to kind of conclude these 6 areas by saying, you know, when you do all these things and whatever you do, you want to display kindness. You want to always show that you care about other people, care about the group, care about what everyone is trying to accomplish, that you are compassionate, that you understand and you're empathetic to what people are going through. We always say, try to understand other people, know what they're going through, because it may not always be a positive situation. So to be compassionate is always important. You want to be appreciative of others and what they do and bring to the organization. So again, being kind about their contribution is important. The other idea is to always be considerate of others. Finally, it leads us to our conclusion. Our conclusion is that leaders need to always act professionally and ethically, because again, this exhibit of ethical leadership is valuable to the success of all. When you act professionally and ethically, you build that trust. This trust that you build up leads to more collaboration and communication, 2 valued components of your success and your organizational success. Another part is, again, the collaboration communication leads to better business decisions, organizational outcomes, better decisions for our students. And finally, that these practices and decisions lead to moving forward for success in our ever-changing world. So I want to thank you for this first part of our discussion. And I'd like to turn things over to my colleague, Bill, who will be talking about transformational leadership.
Dr. Littman, thank you. It is a pleasure to be part of this presentation and to come in the back end of some great principles that you shared with us and given us a reason to understand and apply ethical leadership very well. So thank you for that. And my part in this is to talk about transformational leadership, make some recommendations. But before I start, I want to talk about my leadership style, which is simply servant, transformational, ethical style leading. I truly believe in serving others. I believe in the principles of transformational leadership and ethical leadership. And I try to talk the walk and walk the talk. So with that said, I want to leave you with a definition of who's a leader. This is from my graduate school days, and I kept this and I've embraced this for a while. And this is by Dr. Nahavandi from her book, The Art and Science of Leadership. A leader is defined as any person who influences individuals and groups within an organization, helps them in the establishment of goals, and guides them toward achievement of those goals, thereby allowing them to be effective. The way I describe effectiveness is getting both the relationships and the results. So keeping that in mind, what do transformational leaders do? Well, they provide consideration. You heard Dr. Littman talk about that, considering others and being kind, understanding their situations, showing empathy. Transformational leaders mentor followers by teaching and sharing their knowledge and skills. They're open book. They are transparent. They're helping others by sharing information. They show emotional concern and support. They provide a vision and mission. They instill pride. They gain respect. They trust. They communicate high expectations and express purposes in simple ways. You had heard Dr. Littman talk about passion and purpose, and good leaders make that happen for others. They also provide intellectual stimulation, new topics, areas for growth, and they also give personal attention. Now, there's basically two types of leadership here in this particular category, transactional or transformational. They're both right, and they both work in different situations. But I just want to talk a little bit about that focus of a transactional leader. You know, there's contingent rewards where they exchange rewards for efforts, promises, rewards for good performance. Some transactional leaders manage by exception. They watch and they search for deviations for rules and standards, and they take corrective action. Some are passive. They manage by exception. They intervene, and you see them only if standards aren't met. And then there's laissez-faire, where they abdicate responsibilities and they just avoid making decisions. So in some cases, this is parts of this, and some of this is very important in an organization, and it can, and we many times are shifting from being a transformational to a transactional leader, given the context and situation. But transformational leaders, you know, they have idealized influence. As I said, they provide vision, a sense of mission, they instill pride, they gain respect, and they build that important component that you heard Dr. Littman talk about early in his presentation, trust. Everything does live and dies on trust. So we want to make sure we're building trust and we're making good, solid, ethical connections. Inspirational motivation. You know, they communicate those high expectations, and they use symbols to focus efforts, express important purposes in simple ways that are understood. Intellectual stimulation, you heard me say that before. They promote intelligent, rational, and careful problem solving. And again, that most important point, they give consideration. They give personal attention, treat employees individually, they coach, and they advise. Now, the 4 I's of transformational leadership, I like to keep these top of mind. Here they are: inspirational motivation, intellectual stimulation, idealized influence, and individualized consideration. I think when you get this going, you know, you become a real core transformational leader. You can apply this in a group setting. You can apply this in a community organization you're leading, a for-profit, not-for-profit. I mean, any situation. In the classroom, you can do this. You can inspire students, give them good stimulation, consider them, what's going on in their world, you know, work with them, make it personal. All these things are part of transformational leadership. And again, they model the way transformational leaders do, and they inspire a shared vision. Again, challenge the process. They're courageous. They enable others to act. And most importantly, they're encouraging the heart. They're providing idealized influence. Again, inspiring, stimulating, and giving that most important part consideration. Now, trust, this is just a slide that kind of reinforces what Dr. Littman said. This is something I followed in my career, and I would tell my teams in my early career that, remember, we're out there to build trust with our customers, with our internal customers, external customers, and those being our employees and those that work for us, and we receive our inputs. And what you want to do is look at these characteristics: honesty, confidence, dependability, reliability, likability. Those are the 5 dimensions of trust. So important to be honest, so important to conceptualize, understand the dynamics, the context, the culture as you're leading, whether that's in a classroom or in an organization. Be dependable, as Dr. Littman said, you know, do as you say and follow through. Be reliable, because if someone gives you their trust, you want to show them that you're worthy of that trust, and you will be reliable and deliver as promised. And, you know, likability is an important point too. People like to work with people that are trading back and forth and are likable, and you know, you're getting that whole dyadic there where they're contributing, you're contributing, all that works. Open communication, common goals, commitment to mutual gain, and organizational support. But again, trust is just a belief by one party that the other party will fulfill its obligations in a relationship. Now, ethical transformational leadership, I like to just put this in a lot of my leadership presentations. This is a survey by the Gallup polls, results, a survey of 10,000 people. Gallup noted these common themes used consistently by all respondents using these common adjectives. Gallup concluded that followers need, this is after surveying all these followers, number one, they want a leader they can trust. Number two, a leader who's compassionate. Number three, a leader who's stable, offers stability. And number four, a leader who demonstrates hope. You know, hope is a very important component in leading, and never take away hope for people, and let them see those possibilities and things that exist, and build people. So those four things I think were worth mentioning. Ethical transformational leadership, moving forward together, think win-win. Align your actions with your mission and your core guiding values. You know, align to your organizational goals, systems, strategies, leadership, structure, culture. Embrace diversity. You know, together everybody achieves more. Be tolerant. We're all different. Encourage each other, acknowledge each other, and be mindful that we need each other. Value those differences. Create an inclusive culture. Everyone has a voice. Collaborate and innovate together, and maintain, as Dr. Littman said, that ethical purpose. Know what you're doing. There's those acronyms that I just have followed in my career, throughout my career for decades. I really think they allow me to focus, and my teams to focus to do more. Now, I'd like to turn the floor back over to my colleague and friend, and Dr. Michael Littman.
I want to thank you again for your right words and your on-target information on leadership and transformational leadership. And, you know, as we kind of come to the end, we always say, well, our topic is moving forward together. We know today everybody seems to have an answer and a strategy to how to improve the educational system. And I think moving forward together with Bill's idea of transformational leadership and ethical leadership is our step in the right direction. Just to, you know, again, keep us in the loop, we know that our key goal is that if we follow the 6 ideas of ethical leadership: honesty, fairness, responsibility, respect, courage, and kindness, our educational system will be improved, as well as our student learning outcomes, which is, again, the bottom line in anything that we do. But the idea is the action of all of our school program leaders needs to be consistently professional and ethical in behavior and in their performance. The practice of leadership ethics, while modeling appropriate behaviors, leads to the trust in relationship, as Bill so clearly elaborated on. This trust factor is a key desirable trait in what we hope to see as a desired outcome of leadership success through building an ethical climate for the faculty and for students. This again has impacts on student and faculty recruitment and retention, how well students achieve their learning outcomes, and helps the community understand the value in the education process in what we see. And finally, it's clear and professionally relevant that a successful leader in today's educational climate must have ethics in their decision-making and in their actions. In dealing with people, ethics is critical to success. In dealing with educational programs, school stakeholders, and the community, ethics is critical to that success. So again, through ethical leadership and transformational leadership, our educational system and success for all and move forward. And I thank you.